How about now?
Yeah, that looks good.
All right.
Looks good.
Excellent. Very cool. So best practices for scaling to international markets with Zendesk, the webinar, which is going to be hosted by myself and Barry as well, and Nils. So I'm going to pass the microphone around so everyone can say a few words. But before I do that, Andre from Zendesk is not joining us today. I realized that I wanted to announce it in a more, let's say, official way. But then I realized that as a fresh parent myself, oops, I'm giving it away. I did not want to give the news because that's not my thing to do, not my place to do. As you've maybe caught on to it, Andre and his partner are becoming more than two. So that's why he couldn't join, but we are joined by the lovely 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗟𝗢𝗪 Sendal from Zendesk, and she will be keeping in for Andre. So very quickly, the agenda for today is we're going to be doing a bit of intro to so you guys know who is speaking. Then we're going to have Magdalena walk us through with this customer experience trends to look forward to from Zendesk, and then Nils and myself are going to talk about the best practices for scaling to international markets. Then we're going to have a demo from Barry, and he's going to walk us through some of these best practices and how they apply in Zendesk. We're going to have a short question and answer to answer some of your curiosities. And then we have a surprise, stick to the end, because we have a free giveaway for you, but I won't let you know right now what it is. It's an ebook. Okay. So this is us. I'm going to start first, and I'm going to pass over the microphone. So Dominic, I've been in customer experience for 15 years almost, and a Zendesk consultant for the past 9 years. I'm very enthusiastic about customer experience, and in doing so, right now I run a customer experience agency with Barry, my colleague, who's also here. Also worked at Zendesk. I've done over 300 projects, and reason for being here is to share some of these best practices that we time and time again come across, and we like to share them with you. Now, Magdalena.
I check it. So that was nice, Andre photo. Happy to step in as usual. So I'll share my screen. Is that okay? I introduce myself. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
I'm working in Zendesk for, I think, 4.5 years now. I work in direct sales and moved to partner sales. I'm working very close with 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗟𝗢𝗪 and Dominic.
Okay, Nils.
Yeah, hi, my name is Nils. I used to work at Zendesk from 2011 until 2016. And then I started freelancing in the Zendesk space. And now I'm running, like Dominic, running a small company, a Zendesk partner, helping companies to get started with Zendesk or improve their Zendesk instances.
Barry, go ahead.
Oh, cool. Thanks, Dominic. Yeah, look, I've been working with Zendesk for the past 3 years now. I've been in the contact center industry for the last 8 to 9 years, almost 9 years now. Before working as a contact center business analyst, and to be honest, out of all the products I've ever worked with in the contact center industry, Zendesk has really stood out for me above the rest. The likes of the competition, I don't think I should mention any names. I might get into trouble, but there's other products out there, and out of all my experience, I've really enjoyed Zendesk. So yeah, I've been consulting with Zendesk specifically for the last 3 years or so, and it's been great partnering up with Dominic and 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗟𝗢𝗪 to drive that business in helping people get the most out of Zendesk. Really getting their businesses from good to great, getting their customer service from good to great using a tool like Zendesk. Really stoked to be here and just share what we know, how to help you guys with your business, and reach those potentials that your business have, and just help people really get the most out of it. So yeah, it's been great so far, so good. Awesome.
Excellent. Thank you, Barry. Very nice.
Cool, man.
Okay, so now Magdalena, I'm going to allow you to share your screen, because now it's your time. Take away customer experience trends.
Okay. Let me share that quickly. Sorry, I'm just trying to find it. Moved it here.
Very
Great.
nice.
So you can see it, right?
Yes.
My screen, amazing. So thank you so much for having me today. I have only 5 minutes. The CX Trends for 2022. It's like a long, hour long. So if anyone wants to deep dive into it, so I invite everyone to our website. When I say CX Trends, I actually made the traps that companies are falling into. So I want to give you a heads up what needs to be avoided in order to grow. Now let me move to the next one. So we all know this, that customer service is a competitive differentiator, important to customers, and a profit-generating force for our companies. Customer service is so much more that we can get credit for. Is it more than answering a phone call from an unhappy customer? It's more than responding to rote emails. It's more than empathetic answer. I am related to the customer experience for a couple of years now, and I'm saying that for a while now. And I'm happy to see that war is finally validating these CX practitioners. Now, whenever your organization is already a CX champion, or you are starting the scale and growth, a great customer service team is really a game changer. A great customer service team can attract your business, can boost retention, and also increase the sales. So let me move to the CX trends that we noticed across 2022. So first, CS can drive bigger profits for companies, that for sure. Second, customer expectations are higher than before, and they higher every single year. 3, CS leaders have roadblocks to avoid. 4, high performance in the companies are the agents that we look after and we should learn from. Also, the emerging technologies can accelerate the growth of the company.
Now, Magdalena, just for one moment, I just wanted to say something, and what you touched on I felt was really cool, because it's Zendesk is a tool, and that enables the ability. But what I felt, what you picked on for me was important, is the agents. You got to invest in your agents and really give them the ability to provide that service. And if you can make the agents happy, they make the customers happy. And I found, for me, that was definitely one that stuck out a lot.
Amazing, Barry. You're spoiling my presentation, so let me touch a little bit later. But
go for it, Magdalena. Sorry.
5 minutes, but definitely this is something important, and being in sales and working close with the support agents, it is important. It is absolutely. So thank you for pointing that out. Cool, now, we all the CX trends, the learnings. We have some traps that customer service teams are falling into. Impressing customers to help you to stand out and start the growth, but also fetid technologies are burn agents, as you said it, can really grant the success to hold. Now, we have 5 traps that I want to discuss. So let me go quickly through a few of them. So your customer service isn't knowing the customer, but maybe they don't want to be watched. And that's very, very important, because the customer is not about the extreme. It's not about lows and not about highs. What companies should do, they really should take some time to understand what great customer service means for their unique database, because there's something more than what customers. It's actually the loyal customers. So when you, as a company, you're trying to listen to your customers, you get sync with your customer really fast, so stop spending on over-top experience. What you need to do is take an action across the areas your customer wants to be approached. Try to make your experience for customer easier, and try to make channels more accessible, self-serve, easy to access. Also, try to train your agents more. Now, the second trap that I'm trying to do, I will try to touch is, it's the trap that your leadership talks the talk but doesn't walk the walk. Which that means, going into the customer service, it's easy to say but hard to do. We all know that. We all been there. Executives say that the customer experience, it's so much important to them. They do the all research, but at the end of the day, they neglect to give a customer service seat at the table, which is very, very important. So remember when I said about listening to your customers, so organizations need to understand that each customer interaction is an opportunity to wave improvement to the products. Because when you listen to your customers, you can really, know what's working with your product and what's not working in the real time. And I know that it's very hard to push the C-level to shadow agents and listen to support calls, but you need to make sure you need to create a clear story and push it up over and to everyone responsible for CX, which means just above to everyone. Now, I want to start the trap 3 with the question. Okay, so we have 3 out of 5, 2 more left. So the question is your customer service valued as much as they should be? So it is unlikely to see that your support center is a profit center and it's not going to be a profit center over the night. But you can start by showing your team worth. Widen customer service scope to include things like customer retention and loyalty. It is important for you to tie your support team to business growth, and you'll see likely that you will get back the investment and the backing you need. Now, yes, it's important also, when we had a little bit spoiler alert, to tie the trap into the agents as well, because agents are really burned out very, very quickly, and this is not a surprise to any company. Now, if we are not doing a stellar job to keep agents happy, we're not appreciating too much. And this is important to recognize them, because not happy agents are most likely dissatisfied customers, right? And customers are notice that straight away. But to be honest, burnt out agents does not need to happen. So high-performing companies understand that they need to invest a little bit more time in the training and more agent empathy. So they need to empowering them, they need to invest in them, they need to basically respect them as well. And then
look after them.
And then we'll see the churn, like the less churn in terms of agent, increased profits, and all that with the happy agents. I can see, Barry, that this is very close to you. It's
so cool. And I was just thinking about, those interactions. Every interaction with the customer, Magda, is an opportunity, and even the negative ones, that to me is gold. If a customer is willing to tell you something that's bad or wrong, wow, they're giving you first-hand information as to what to fix, right? So customers who don't say anything that you got to worry about.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's important. Me and sales, any interaction and with the customer, even if it's pure admin work for me, we always try to turn it out into something positive. But feedback, it is very important. And the last trap that I want to say that companies are falling into is related to this joint system that confuse really customer and prevent the growth, because having a high-performing companies isn't possible with right tools in place, right? When the right hand does not talk to the left hand, it does not talk to any hand whatsoever. No, it's going to build the frustration of the customer. So just the one slide with numbers, I tell you, we had loads of slides with numbers that I skipped. It's 90% of customers says, says that they will spend more money with companies that can personalize and streamline their experience.
And I'm definitely, sorry, Magda, I wanted to share. I've definitely found in my experience the silos between the front customer-facing areas of the business and the back end. They operate independently of each other in silos. Nobody can communicate anything about the customer, and no one's got a full picture. So definitely a trap I've seen often.
This is something that Zendesk always can help out. So that's one of my 5 traps. And if anyone have any more questions, you can reach out to me, or you can reach out, of course, to our partner Roca, who will be happy to help out to understand how the company actually can grow, avoiding those traps. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing now, and I'm going to give a voice to the next person.
The exciting insights to customer experiences and the traps that come with that. So next is going to be Barry. It's going to may you take the screen, Barry, and you can walk us through through the best practices. Nils and I are going to talk about them a little bit, and then you can show us the nice demo you have for us.
Cool stuff. Okay, I'm just making sure I got that screen for you guys. Let's go and start that slideshow. And let's share. How's that? Can you guys see my screen okay?
It's loading up. Yeah.
Cool stuff. Okay, so we are... sorry, guys. Let me get back that way. Sorry, I went a bit too fast. There you go. Am I stopping there, guys?
Spoilers. Okay. Good. I think in this section we want to talk about the best practices when it comes to rolling out Zendesk to international teams and what you need to do before you roll it out, etc. So we see several challenges here. For example, the first one, languages. So here we talk about the factual differences between the different regions, between the different languages, like different wording, or like what's the address for returns look like in different languages or in different locations. Cultural differences, of course. There are a lot of things happening in between the lines that mostly only native speakers will pick up. Next, we talk about the challenges of locations, remote working. So that's the next point. Thank you. So remote working is often a topic. Not everyone has the luxury of having the whole team in one place. Especially nowadays, remote working is a standard, or at least an alternative, and often a hybrid model, right? So be prepared for working with teams remotely. So obviously that comes with certain managerial challenges, and therefore it's worth mentioning it and be prepared for it. And the next one is time zones. So what time zones are you serving in? Currently, the panel here is based in 3 different time zones, right? So therefore, some adjustments are needed in order to coordinate this. Similarly, in your customer support, you will have challenges when you cover different time zones. Do you cover them specifically, or do you offer a follow the sun 24/7 support? All of those are challenges that need to think about before you roll out. Obviously, that also impacts the staff, the team that works maybe in different locations, or at least covers these different time zones. The last challenge we want to discuss today is scalability. So what if your team is 5 people? How does it work if it's 50 people or anything in between? So obviously, that challenge then is about more languages than you maybe currently support, right? So just the quantity might increase, and therefore the complexity might increase as well. You might manage multiple teams in more locations than in the beginning. So those are the challenges that I think companies and managers like you are often confronted with when making decisions, before making the decisions. And yeah, now we talk about the best practices. So Dominic and I have some thoughts around it. Yeah.
I was just thinking about it, like on what Magdalena was sharing with us on the 5 traps, and that one trap about looking after your agents, making sure that they're happy. And I'm trying to remember who said it. Was it Elon or one of those other guys that said if you look after your staff, your customers are looked after? But I'm just thinking, like, part of the challenges, and I'm just wondering, what do you think about cultural differences in terms of what makes an agent happy? What makes a UK-based agent happy as opposed to a Polish-based agent or Australian-based agent? I mean, culturally, is it different? Do you think it's the same across the board?
Yeah, no, it's not the same. Yes, there are differences, and therefore that's a challenge in itself. Different locations, different nationalities, and then on top of that, or if you go further down, different personalities, right? I'm German, but my neighbor is also German. We might be very different people, right? So do you think about, or how do you how do you go about generalization in these kind of things? So that's definitely a challenge, which is even more complicated, more challenging if you're not even in the same location, right? You can't sit down and say, and gauge each other's mimic and gestures. So you're right. That's even more challenging. Something you need to consider and work into your program in working with your remote staff. Absolutely.
Cool. Okay. Nice.
Thanks. Good point. Dominic, languages. So I say preparing content ahead of time is useful, and using live translations wherever that is not possible, like on the fly, right? There are lots of tools out there for that.
I agree. And so preparing content, I assume you have in mind, for example, in Zendesk, you create templates for replies, right? So in terms of how you get back to your users, you can use templates, or how, if you're used to the Zendesk jargon, dynamic content, right? So you use that, you use macros, and you use them with dynamic content. And not only that, but in using your templates, but you can use in business rules, you can use the same type of logic to make the experience as personalized as possible. And you want to get back to customers in their respective language that they write to you in, right? You want to make it personal, because we live in that age where people do give you extra points and are willing to spend more time with you, with the company, with your brand, for example.
Exactly. And I think you mentioned an important point there. You mentioned the agent perspective as well as the customer perspective, right? So when you think about self-service, have content readily translated for the market that you operate in, Help Center or Zendesk Guide. And when it comes to the agents, make sure you have the content, in this case, macros available with dynamic content in those languages, so they don't need to translate on the fly all the time. Obviously, repetitive tasks should be avoided with a tool like Zendesk, and that's exactly what these tools are for.
And guys, I was just thinking about what Magdalena said earlier. Magdalena, I don't know if you want to weigh in just a little bit in terms of those countries that Zendesk doesn't support the language. You know, that's definitely a consideration. But I mean, you were talking about some of the workarounds, and do you want to just share that on that note?
Yeah, absolutely. When we don't support the languages, we're very open with that. We will say to customer that we don't speak the language and we prefer to English. We have our local partners to help us out as well if the customer would like to speak with the local partners. But we are very we're very good with customer in terms of they are trying to reach out to us. They're using the Google Translator. We're not going to use macros to connect the customer even more. We will be very easy in terms of communicate back to customer if they're willing to. But having said that in mind, we are our support team in languages is growing. 4 years ago when I started, it was very limited. Now I can see
it's huge. I mean,
exactly.
I've seen like 5 different variations of German, and there's like 10 different variations of English. It's huge. So it's like just about every language is covered. So
I think
not an issue.
When our sales team is growing, we get more and more customers. We see where we do sales, and that we are investing into the agents to support those customers as well, because they spent money, they invest in Zendesk, so we want to do something back. It will take some time for some of the countries, but you can actually see when we start with AnswerBot, we have only limited to 3 languages. We are now expanding more because we have more customers in different languages.
And I totally love that about Zendesk, because you guys actually listen to your customers, and you develop in the system what people need. It's not stuff they don't use, and it's makes it flexible. That's why I really enjoy Zendesk. So sorry guys, I'll next one. Go for it.
Sorry, I do have one more point here, which I wanted to share across the board, because it ties in with what Magdalena said and Neil said, and also you, Barry, as well, because you brought the point of if you don't support the language. Nils, would you say it's critical, not critical, but very important to have a master language, if you will, set up in the customer service system? In regards to, for example, if you don't support the language, then you have one with you, which you intuit the customers will be able to somewhat understand.
Yes, I mean if you think about the different scenarios, what I always like to consider is like the baseline, like what happens if something doesn't work as expected? What happens if we don't support the language? If the company doesn't support or supply content in the language, you probably default to something very basic. And in most cases, this might be English, right? If you don't have something in Spanish, French, or Italian, then revert back to English. Often these people from these countries are often used to that their language is not as often supported, and often have a user interface mod like a Chrome extension that automatically translates these websites. So then those programs often work better with English. So as a fallback, yes, probably English is the go-to, depending on where you are in the world, obviously. But English is probably a go-to for many companies to start with, and then offer content in different languages.
Okay, thank you. So I have one more point. I promise I won't delve into this much longer, but I do want to ask this open question. Would you say that we should rely on bots, for example, if we scale to markets that we don't have support staff for? To what extent can we rely on that? What are your thoughts on that?
Bots as in translating stuff automatically, or so I have a feeling when it comes to machine translation, there's a fine line, which comes down to the individual. I think having machine translated content can be useful if you don't have native speakers, or if the native speakers are not available. Machine translation can help in that. There are lots of tools for that out there. Even Zendesk inbound messages can be translated automatically, but there's a fine line when it becomes too much, or the machine translation is not good enough, and having a native speaker or native speakers in that language would give you an edge.
Yes, I agree.
So,
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. So there's
but
this
not everyone can afford that. So there's
of course, there's this.
There's so many things to
There's this example with, for example, there's in Finnish, for example, and in Hungarian. Sometimes it has happened, like a few years back, when Zendesk thought they were the same language because the message was very short. Aha, look, it's Hungarian. No, it was Finnish, right? It did happen. So it's a good solution if you want to test the waters. But long term, obviously, you have to have a native speaker. And for the sake of saving money, obviously, because companies would much rather just rely on on automated solutions. But it's not necessarily doesn't bring the same value to the table as a native speaker would.
Yeah, I agree. It can get you so far, but the edge you still have with native speakers.
Okay.
True. Okay, let's go move on to the next point, right?
Hey, got it.
So the challenges are the different locations. So you obviously need to plan for remote work. Especially nowadays, it's likely that you find native speakers in that country, in that place, and therefore you need to somehow rope them into your business structure, into your organization. So you need to think about the different time zones, as I mentioned before, but also what Magdalena and Barry mentioned before: somehow find a way to prevent burnout and include them in a way that that makes sense and feels more organic, especially if you have everything online nowadays, like these Zoom interactions, online interactions. It's so important to have to plan for that, but also think about what it means for the individual, for the human being behind the screen.
So on this, I think it would be important to think about, in terms of the location, to think about if you want to use a feature like multi-brand, for example, in Zendesk, because this, I won't get into the details of what this means, but you have to think about if you want to have one central Zendesk where all your agents log in from the different locations, and you have to ask yourself if there are any legal constraints, if there's difference in security needs, workflows, or processes. So it's worth thinking about if you want to have one central Zendesk, where everyone logs in from every location, or you have to have separate instances. Now, as a best practice, it's not obviously, but if you have one central location, you have amazingly detailed reports, which help you make better business decisions in this regard. So these are all some questions to think about.
Yeah, and I think if we think about what Zendesk provides, are a lot of features that we can obviously utilize, but then there are things outside of those platforms that we should also consider. In this example, I would think about a back channel, a communications channel that allow people to talk to each other, have stand-up meetings, have spontaneous conversations, maybe reach out directly to certain people. And not that's my preference, but Slack, for example, could be one of those tools. It has an integration with Zendesk, which can come in handy.
That's actually a good idea.
Yeah, you can have communication with the customer on Zendesk, and then team conversations can happen on, for example, Slack. And with the integration, you can still refer to tickets, etc. And you can have non-Zendesk related conversations.
And also, I've seen that a lot in my customers I've worked with, is that, they use Slack for the operational communications, and Zendesk is the customer facing stuff, and then the back end is they use Slack integration. And it's amazing how much Slack and Zendesk are kind of joining more and more together in terms of integration. It's really useful. So yeah, I like that idea.
Exactly. So if so many different people tell you that, guys, then it's worth
people using
it a try.
Yeah, it's cool. Okay, next point.
Yes.
Okay.
Different time zones, how to handle it. So obviously, it's more challenging if you have live channels like chat and phone. So there you will run into thoughts like, ooh, what are the how do I make sure the availability makes sense? Think about the different time zones, the office hours for those different time zones. Should they overlap? Should they not? How do you transition between that? So that's an important one. And then the other one is asynchronous support. So things that are not live, mails, messages, etc. Here it's a bit easier, but you still need to think about the overlap or the potential handovers. If we work in Europe and we go to sleep in our well-deserved evenings, then people in other time zones, our team in different time zones, might be able to pick things up if language, right? So English is an example. If UK customers send something during their evening hours, the American team might if you're in America, you might have people in time zones that come after that. So this is a very very good way of providing. Exactly.
So in here, I have about this one for time zones. I have a very basic one. I think it's actually amazingly, or not amazingly, but a little bit annoying that I don't see it as often as I'd like. Setting the right expectations. So obviously, when you scale, you can't keep up with the demand in different parts of the world. So if you just mention the time zone that you're in and what support hours that you're offering support in, it will make things a lot easier. You won't make anyone mad. You won't make anyone lose faith in you. People appreciate, oh, okay, so then I have to, today I'm writing, it's no use to writing now because it's too late for them anyway. Let me write tomorrow morning, in my morning, because that's when they'll be online. Setting the right expectation is always best, and the people do want to give you the benefit of the doubt, but you have to let them know that they have to expect it somehow, right?
Good point.
Okay, so I do have one more thing here, but this is more in regards to how people handle, for example, company culture, but this is an obvious one. So team meetings and communication between the team is essential here. You can't escape this. You have to have regular team meetings to make sure that everyone knows what requests that they can take over, be it in the language that they understand or they have skills in. So they know, for example, you make the escalation just for the urgent tickets for the American team to pick up when we're actually enjoying our let's say our well-deserved rest in Europe.
Yeah, the handover, so to speak. Yeah, and the internal communication. Okay, I think Barry is hot to give a demo. Let's quickly talk about the last point.
If I just tied up something that I mentioned before, on challenges and best practices, and also to support agents as well. If I would be an agent, right, trying to get a job somewhere, right, and I apply to a company that would tell me that they're working on email, I basically would not like to get a job there. And I tell you why, because that company does not have plan to support any languages, location, time zone, scalability, absolutely nothing to motivate me and to motivate me in terms of how do I work, how do I compare myself to coworkers. So basically the challenges and best practices tied up to talent as well. If you want to attract a talent, whatever you are in the world, you need to give them the right tools to work on. Otherwise, you're going to get someone junior who doesn't know yet what it's there in the work waiting for you.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, nice.
That's such a good point. And Magdalena, I have to say this. I'm glad you're here, not Andre. Not because I don't like Andre, because you know what? It's so good to have that female perspective that a bunch of guys won't have, right? So I think it was a good thing you're here.
In terms of sales and support, I'm very picky in terms of, because I've been there before for a couple of years and the different companies as well. So I know what customers are expecting, and I know from the other side as well what needs to be expected as well. Great, good.
Exactly.
My input. I'm waiting for more content.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good point. That's not talked about often enough. There was a time when I worked at Zendesk, there was a slogan that we used for Zendesk, beautifully simple. Zendesk used to be beautifully simple also for agents, right? So the user interface, find things quickly, and it's intuitive, I use shortcuts, right? You can use, even though it's in a browser, you can use shortcuts in Zendesk. So lots of things that support agents as well. Okay, preparing for the rollout. You might want to prepare your growth from the very beginning. So think about ahead of time. Imagine you rolling out to one other country or 5. Have in mind what would happen in the end. And you might not be able to afford native speakers straight away or want to test the water. So especially in the beginning, the prepared content that you can use in Zendesk for self-service, for agents, etc., will be your best friend in the beginning. And think about structures that can easily be multiplied. If you support language 1 and language 2, just think about how does it look when we support 5, 8, 10 languages. Are those going to different? Are those going to different departments, or how do you split up within the departments, the skill set, etc. Even if it's just 2 languages, if you already have a structure. If you make that jump into the second language, you have a structure in place that can easily work with 2 or 20 languages or 20 locations. That's the point to plan for that. If you set the foundation correct there, you can easily scale right up.
So on that point, on that note, I know that Barry's hot for for the demo, so I'll keep it very short. Exactly like,
hey man, I want to get going. no worries, take your time.
Exactly like you mentioned, Nils, document processes, identify the repetitive processes so you can automate those, and with the help of building a knowledge base, right? You can't do that without documenting processes, then creating the knowledge base, and then you create those translations for the repetitive processes that can be automated, right? Let's see, I have one more point here. Oh yeah, think about using a community to engage your audiences. Like for different parts of the world where you launch, you can use the community from Zendesk, for example, where users can interact with one another and help them and help each other solve some of their queries based on experience. I think around 4% of customers are the loyal ones that spend time on communities or a forum, as they're called as well. And they're happy to share what they've done to fix something that has come up let's say, in the past of using the
and they can potentially help each other in their own language, right?
Correct. Exactly.
Without any intervention of an agent. Yeah. Nice.
Exactly.
They are helping each other when the agents are, for example, working from 8 to 5, and they can also find someone who can help them out off hours when the company's not working. They have someone to help them out. The communities are great. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I've not really seen another tool that offers it like Zendesk does, you know, to so can I say efficiently offer that to the customers, that they can partake in the service or partake in that organization, you know, that they have a stakeholder in because they really enjoy it. I mean, that's such a cool way that customers can interact with your business through Zendesk. I've not honestly seen another tool that does it like that. So it's very cool to have that option.
I think that's a good point. The transition between prepared content from the company into communities and hand over to agents potentially afterwards, right? All in one platform. Yeah. Nice. So are we going to see that in your demo, Barry, or what have you prepared for us?
Absolutely. So am I getting the green light, guys? Can I start?
Go ahead, yeah.
Oh,
hey, man, that's cool. Plenty, and you can interrupt me. I don't mind. I know I've been interrupting you all along, but if you want to say anything, go for it. I was just before, I don't want an answer, but I was just thinking, you know what? World Cup, right? If someone wanted to take advantage of the World Cup, do some planning, how would you have used Zendesk to reach a whole international community around a major event? I mean, there's a huge business opportunity, multiple cultures, languages, man, there's huge. So, hey, how could Zendesk be used for that? You know, brilliant opportunity. Anyway, let's get our demo going. And so this was my idea, right? I was going to talk to something that's kind of more practical. And I was thinking, okay, well, let's think about an example of, like, say, a UK-based company produces electronics, consumer electronics, right? They produce and they sell that. And say they have opportunity, or they're looking to expand into other markets, into other countries. In this particular example, there's 4. They want to try and get into the US, Australia, Germany, and France. You know, they're looking to, because there's potential in those areas. So say you're this company and you've been using Zendesk for a couple of years. You know, you want to now, hey, I've got Zendesk. I've been based in the UK. Things are going really well. Let me try and expand my operation into other markets. How can I use the Zendesk that I've already got? So that's really the idea behind this example. Just to give a feel of the kind of interactions you're going to receive from customers. Customers are mainly contacting about, things that they've bought. What's happening with my order? Where is it? How do I return an order? How do I use the thing? Because it's electronic, it's a little bit complicated, more than just an on-off button. And customers are using different channels, right? They're going to be using email. They're going to be using a phone, even to the point of using instant messaging. Maybe, Facebook Messenger, these customers are sending Facebook. They like to use Facebook Messenger because they're a little bit of a younger generation and they know how to use instant messaging on a smartphone, right? And at the same time, as a company, you want to look for cost-effective agents, right? You've heard that there are outsourced contact centers in Indonesia, and agents are really good. The accents are perfect, and they cost half the price of a British agent, for example, right? Cool. So that's the idea. That's the background picture. And my thought is, okay, well, if that's it, how are we going to set this up in Zendesk? And the focus there really is, generally, are these the main areas that we're going to look at? We're going to be setting up stuff we're going to set up additional languages in the support module. We're going to look at multiple brands, because also, if you go into another country, sometimes you want to set up your particular product in a different way that appeals to that culture, right? The color scheme might need to be different for German based customers, because they just are culturally different. Maybe red is an offensive color, and sorry, Nils, I'm talking to German. You'll be able to tell me, right? Maybe blue is a more acceptable color,
an offensive color.
So I want to change my branding. Maybe there's regulations in those countries, so I got to change things a bit and make it more relevant to the countries that I actually want to introduce my product, my business to, right? So we'll look at how you can set up multiple brands, accommodating other languages with dynamic content. We talked a little bit about macros. is one of the uses where you can get Zendesk to change the content based on the person who's speaking. And our Zendesk is very clever. Zendesk will be able to pick up the language of the person based on the language in the interaction. Right, the first interaction, if the email's in French, it's going to say, "Hey, I've created this user automatically. I see it as a French user. That's how we're going to communicate with this person." So Zendesk can do some really clever stuff around language. A big bonus is setting up a digital line for international calling. When I show it to you, I'll speak to a bit more about what that means. We're going to look at schedules for operations. Now, that's definitely a serious consideration. If, and speaking to what you guys spoke about earlier, Niels, time zones, we've got to try and accommodate agents in those areas. And if you're looking for multiple schedules, you're going to have to probably look for enterprise level licensing as opposed to professional. But there's other ways to consider how you could use just one schedule to accommodate other countries as well. Definitely the answer bots. How can the answer bot accommodate other languages, from an automated perspective? And then setting up the guide itself. How do we add a language there? And then last but not least, how do we set up those other messaging and social channels? Now, if I have to go in depth into all of this, you guys are going to be all night. So I'm just going to give you a general directional overview where you can set these things up in Zendesk. So if you give me a moment, I'm going to get out of this presentation for now. And I'm going to take you through to Zendesk. Can you guys still see my screen okay?
Looks good.
Okay, no news is good news. If I don't hear anything, I think it's okay, guys.
No, looks good.
Otherwise I lost connectivity. Okay. All right, cool. Now we're still good. I can see you guys moving and I haven't frozen, so I'm still connected. All right, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to look at setting up additional languages in your Zendesk support, right? First thing you're going to do is you're going to navigate, logging into Zendesk, username and password. You log into your instance. I'm just using one of our test instances to show you guys, so just mindful there's a bit of junk lying around the system, but I'm going to show you what you need to know. So you're going to get into your admin center, and let me just click there anyway to get you in. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to head to your account settings, and you're going to get to your appearance. Let's see where appearance is. There it is. And then under appearance, you've got localization. So I hope you guys can follow my mouse. Magdalena, you probably know all of this. I mean, you guys know all of this. So I'm just doing this for the audience. Yeah, get into localization. So just remember, Zendesk admin, account, appearance, localization. And in here, you're going to get this thing called languages, right? You've got your default language over there, which you can change based on where you are. And I mean, we were talking about this earlier. There's a huge list of languages here, really. If you can't find your language, something's not right, probably. Just move countries. Rather move countries and then use Zendesk in that language, right? No, I'm kidding. All right, but you go to additional languages, and here you can actually put what additional languages you want to have Zendesk support, right? At the moment, we've got Bulgarian, English, United Kingdom, French, German, and all you do is really you just go and pick the languages that you want to be able to support, right? If it's Dutch and you're going to go for Flemish, Belgium, pick those languages, and then once you're done, you just hit save. That's it. Foundationally, in terms of setting up support to support multiple languages, that's all you need to do. It's as simple as that. And that's what makes Zendesk really a great tool. It's intuitive and really easy to use. It's not complicated. You just have to get used to what it is you want to do in Zendesk and then understand from there. So, okay, great. I've set up languages, right? What's the next thing I need to do? What I want to take you to is just your dynamic content. So if we look at workspaces within here, and then we go through to dynamic content under agent tools, okay? This is where you're going to set up responses based on certain content that comes in, and these are automated things. So if you're familiar with what word I'm thinking of, if you customize fields within Zendesk to have information, this is pretty much what you're going to do. You're going to add an item here, clicking on add item. Right, you're going to give your dynamic content a title. You could call this, for example, if I can spell it properly, greetings. What default language you're going to choose for it? We're going to go for English for now, English United States, and Hi, how are you? Thanks for reaching out to us. Cool. Okay. Brilliant. Simple as that. I've created my first set of dynamic content, right? Now what you're going to do from there is you can add variants. So I'm going to add a variant. I've got my English version, right? And you can see at the top here that I'm highlighting the placeholder for that is dc.greetings. Now you're going to use that placeholder in things like macros, in triggers, in automations. And as soon as Zendesk picks up that there's a different language, it's going to look for that placeholder. And instead of using English for the customer, it's going to use French, right? Because Zendesk has already picked up that this customer is a French-speaking customer from the language they sent, if they sent an email or something to that effect. So if I add a variant to this particular, and you can add as many variants as you want, right? I mean, you choose how many languages you want to support and add it to you. So I'm going to choose which language, and I'm going to choose German. I'm going to make sure it's active. I won't make this the default variant, because I want to still use English as my default. And what I'm going to
now I'm looking forward to what you're going to type here.
Yeah, I was thinking of 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗟𝗢𝗪. I don't know if I'm going to spell it right, and also you'll have to guide me. Oh, I know I can use hello, right? H-A-R. Yeah, not too bad, yep. Right?
that's great. You can't go wrong with that.
Yeah. Okay. Hello. I'm gonna stop there before I embarrass myself too much, right? So that's great. And that's my variation. You can if you think about what I've done here, you could use that variation for a couple of things, but ultimately it's meant for supporting different languages, and that's how you can answer different languages without necessarily knowing them, because you've already done the pre-work. You're relying on Zendesk to automatically pick up the language and then respond with the appropriate response in that language. And you know, Nelson, Dominic, we were talking about this once. Well, what if the translation's bad? And you know, I put in their language that actually could be offensive when I wasn't meaning to be offensive, just because I got the grammar wrong, right? Hey, Nelson. So we just said you could put a disclaimer and just say, hey, you know what, this has been translated using a tool, so please be patient with us, or graceful, because we're trying to talk to you in your own language to help you. So,
like Dominic said before, setting expectations is one thing, and if you use a long text that's translated automatically, a disclaimer like this could be helpful if you don't have the luxury of having a native speaker cross-check this content.
Yeah, maybe you're still trying to get those agents in Indonesia hired, you know, who speak French. I don't know. Cool. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to talk to you, or at least talk to you about, is brands. Remember, you want to change the look and feel of your product in those different countries. So what you're going to do is you're going to go under account setting, still in Zendesk admin, and then brand management, and then go to brands. Click on brands. And with Zendesk Professional, you get up to 5 brands, right? That's your limit. And as you can see, there's already a whole lot of brands created in here. When you go through to enterprise version of Zendesk, you can get up to 300 brands. So you can really go to town with enterprise, right? But you get what you pay for at the end of the day. If we want to add a brand, really easy. Intuitive interface, click on the add brand button, and you're going to put a brand name, right? New brand. You're going to choose a subdomain in Zendesk that exists for it. New brand. Zendesk will be very gracious and look for you to see if it exists. If it doesn't, you could add a couple of numbers at the end. But usually, you know, if it's your own company name, it hasn't been used before. Well, looks like it has. New brand 1, 2. You can upload a logo for your new brand. You can change how the look and feel of the signature for your brand. So just keep in mind, remember, you want the face of your company to look different in another country, and branding in Zendesk can be used for that. It can help you in that way, right? Host mapping is important just in terms of you want to make sure that your own company name is appearing, and the customer doesn't necessarily see Zendesk in the URL, so they only see your company name. And just on that, a tip is to try and get a domain within that particular country. So I'm picking on Germany just because Nils is joining us. You're going to go and get a .de domain URL set up for yourself, right? And then
of course, like the Germans expect.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I don't want to go to a French URL. Which country? So you're going to try and make it look local.
Yeah, funny, a small detail, but yeah, I guess local domain names. And top level domains. Yeah. that are recognized in that region, in that country?
Let me see if I can get this right here. There you go, subdomain available. So I had to go 1, 2, 3, right? So literally after that, you save changes and your brand set up in Zendesk. It's that easy. Again, just understand why it is what you're doing. Again, sometimes if things are too easy to do, you do a whole lot and you don't know why you're doing it. So just watch out for the design beforehand. Once you've created your new domain, where is my domain now? New brand, go back into it, right? Edit it. And from here, you can create your help center. So literally create the button for the help center. Zendesk is going to go away and do the work in the background for you. And just give it a few minutes, right? It's Zendesk is doing on your behalf. Just go grab a cup of coffee or cigarette, whatever. Be patient. And there you go. Zendesk will actually tell you, hey, your help center's created. And from here, the button changes from create to manage. And just for flow, I'm going to take you directly to that help center, and you just say manage now. Zendesk will open it up in a new tab and take you directly to your new help center. Fantastic. It's as simple as that. And now you can start going configuring the theme, change your pictures. It could look really cool for Germany and put a German flag there. Use the black and red and yellow, and maybe not bicycles. I don't know. What do Germans like to see in the pictures here? Cars, fast cars, BMW, Mercedes-Benz, right?
Yeah, dear audience, this is exactly where you want to be careful. Talk about generalizations and stuff like this. So let's not talk about preferred images on pictures across the whole German-speaking regions, okay?
Yeah. Oh, girls, I'm joking, man.
This is going to YouTube, and I'll keep the comment section open. So yeah, Barry, this is on you, man.
That's on me, guys. Don't stress. No, I love you guys, really. So don't stress. I'm just teasing. Okay, from here, the easiest way, if you want to configure your guide for multiple languages, just on the top right-hand corner, click into Guide Admin, and from here you can click into your configuration settings. I hope you guys are watching where I'm clicking, right? And then once this opens, you'll see your guide settings, and then 3 of those menus down, you've got your language settings. From here, you can go and see what language is default at the moment. You've got English United States, always as the default with Zendesk. From here, you just add a new language, click on the button, and you see here, there's even Afrikaans, right? South African Afrikaans. Who would have guessed that was here? That's something we speak in South Africa. I'm from South Africa, right? Afrikaans. If Zendesk says Afrikaans, what languages don't they have? So you could choose if you wanted to add Afrikaans and give a name for your help center in Afrikaans, right? May help center. And we like milk tart and boerewors, so I'll definitely put pictures of that on my help center, right? Because then it makes people feel more at home culturally. See, I can make fun of myself. It's fun. All right, guys. So that's how you would add those languages. So let me just show you how that works. And you can add as many languages as you want here. If I go back into the help center, clicking into that, what I'll do is if I scroll to the bottom of the screen, you'll actually see the list of other languages that you want to support with this particular, and you can choose, for example, if it's in France and you only want France for it, you can just say that that's the default language. So if I click on Afrikaans now, you'll actually see interface change into Afrikaans language for what's for the interface. And then for articles, you'd have to create articles in Afrikaans as well. So that's really the guide. A couple of, how are we doing for time, guys? We're actually a little bit over. Have we still got a few minutes, Dominic, or should I stop short?
Wow, this is I didn't even realize how fast this went by. Okay, so yeah, let's say conclude. Let's try to wrap it up because we do.
Okay, no, that's fine. I think I'm going to stop there just for time's sake. And there's some things I didn't get to was digital line. Just to explain very quickly, that's where you can enable customers to phone you directly through the internet using voice over IP. You use your browser, either on your phone, on your smartphone, or your computer, and you talk to an agent directly over the internet. That way you don't have to bother to get a phone number in their country and it can prove quite difficult if you're not based there initially. You don't have a business address. And the other things were the schedules, just to make sure that your system is scheduled for operating hours to support agents when they are available. And the answer bot, just to configure the answer bot in terms of using different languages, which it can support other languages depending on the user's browser. Now, again, Zendesk is very clever. It'll find the user's browser, see what language is it, and present the answer bot exactly in that user's language. Cool. Okay, thanks, guys. I'm going to get us back to the slideshow, and let's start the slideshow.
Okay, so let's see.
Wow, that was certainly a lot of, knowledge.
Yeah,
there,
thanks, guys.
Condensed.
Yeah.
That's a lot of information.
I thought I'm fast at demos, but yeah, you're really good.
Yeah. So there's a freebie in the comment section. I put it right now, or in the description. You'll be able to find it. And yeah, there's a link. You leave your name and email, and in a few minutes, be patient. We're using MailChimp. It takes like 3 minutes to end up in your inbox. So yeah, I can get it there. So yeah, next slide, Barry, please. I guess it's going to be if there's any questions and answers. So let's see. I think we can have questions and answers now. And if you show the next slide for anyone that needs to go, you can also send us questions afterwards, right? Magdalena, I guess everything sales and licensing related, and to us, everything more technical, like if you need a specialist for German, apparently, that would be me. Anything else, maybe Barry and Dominic.
Especially Afrikaans.
Afrikaans, yeah, that's for Barry.
Yeah, you can send them my way.
Very nice.
Yeah,
okay.
But before we go, any live questions, Dominic?
Yeah.
Let's see. So I do have one which relates to what do you do? I know that we kind of covered it. So what would you do with Zendesk if you don't, if it's not the language is not supported? So for example, Georgian, what would you do in that case?
We do have Georgian customers for sure. If I can answer from Zendesk perspective, we rely on our local partners to help us out, and we will be very transparent with the customer, saying that we speak English. But if customer is willing to use, as I said, Google Translate, we would not use macros. I see it before. We'd be very easy going with the English then. But maybe someone have the other idea. Let me know.
Sure. What comes to mind is that using a default language in English, and as you mentioned, Magdalena, transparency is key. We don't offer that yet, or we're working on it. If that's the case, if not, sorry, we can provide. We can do it in English if that works. If not, I don't know. And do you guys have any other thoughts on this? Or I have another question which I'd like to address, which is it okay? Or do you have any thoughts?
Let's go to the next question.
So the question is, how long does a process like this take to implement? Like for example, what Barry, it takes 15 minutes, but maybe you can let us know, guys, what you think, how long this would take. I know my thoughts, but let's see, what do you think?
Who goes first?
No, you go first.
Who asks? Okay,
go ahead.
So I think it's always tempting with a tool like Zendesk, which is so easy to use. It's very tempting to go straight into solution and build things out. But I think it's that's what I learned during my time at Zendesk as a solution consultant and professional services. If you plan beforehand, that would be much, much better. Plan a little bit and think about, okay, what do I want to achieve? I don't know. I want to address these different languages, etc. That will then lead you to what you need to do inside and outside of Zendesk. For example, if you need to get translations, Who do you ask for that, right? So all these things that are relatively logical, but takes a little bit of preparation, especially if you have a live Zendesk. You want to prepare these things and then put them into Zendesk. And with similar settings like Barry just showed, you can put it live relatively quickly if you know what. So obviously it's a question like how long is the string, but a bit of planning, a few hours, maybe translations, and then putting it into the system, depending on your expertise in Zendesk, a few hours as well, 2 to 3 hours. And then don't forget testing. Test it, see if it actually works in those different languages. Yeah. So all in all, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 hours over the course of a few days or 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. I noticed as well, it all depends also from customer commitment. I saw a big project implement in 24 hours because customer needed to rip off something now, and they wanted to Zendesk straight away because World Cup is coming. I'm not saying that, or some like a season event is coming and they need it, but it's all depends from the customer and work with Zendesk and the partner as well. And then we can get that very, very fast or very, very slow, right? But we have a plan in place. As Zendesk, a partner will have a plan in place. It's all about sticking to the plan and tell us where actually we are not going to meet in the same way. And maybe that will fall in next week or next day.
In my experience, sorry, Dominic, in my experience, every customer is different. So it really is how long is a piece of string. And, some customers, they maybe want to do a session once or twice a week because they just want time to learn Zendesk and let because it's new to them, they want to take the time to understand it, understand what they've been taught, understand the configuration before they move on to the next part. And like Magdalena said, other customers who are highly committed, you can get it done in 24 hours. It can take you a week, as long as you know how you want to set it up and you've got a plan in mind. You could sit with a consultant, and it just takes dedicated time. And then if you know exactly how you want it, you tell the consultant how to configure it in Zendesk, and it's done. But it all depends. Some customers want training, some customers don't want training along the way. That's all different. Sorry, that's it from me, Dominic. Go for it.
Yeah, no, that's it. So you've said it very, very nicely, and I agree. I don't want to spend more time on this because you guys covered it. You smashed it. That's all the time we had. I promised it would be shorter, but it did extend a little bit. But I had fun, so thank you guys for sharing your thoughts. And happy to have had you host this webinar with me. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was great. It was good doing this with you guys. Really had a good time. Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for having me. It was good to talk about that stuff.
All right, cool. Have a nice evening. Logging off now, and I'll see you.
Guys, keep well.
The well-deserved European evening. Yeah.
Hey, exactly.
Goodbye, guys.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Till next time. Bye-bye.